What is cyclocross and why should you watch it? Well, first of all, cyclocross takes place off-road on a closed course similar to an outdoor velodrome with lots of obstacles like mud, sand, off-cambers, and all of that is ridden on teeny mountain bike tires on drop bar road bikes. Why should you watch it? Well, if that's not enough reason, it's like going to a football match or a baseball game, but you get to be right on the sidelines, drinking beer, eating fries, ringing cowbells, and yelling as loud as you can for your favorite riders. It's also where the best bike handlers are born. There isn't anything in cycling that rivals the experience of spectating or racing a proper cyclocross race. Cyclocross is where road riders go off-road. No, in all seriousness though, it really is. It's where mountain bikers, road riders, and pretty much everyone in between from all disciplines come together to go head-to-head in a 1-hour slugfest. You could compare road racing to the game of chess, and then you could compare cyclocross to the game of checkers. In chess, there are multiple pawns that move around just like a big road team to set up their leader, whereas in cyclocross, it's one person versus another. Boom, boom, boom. It happens super quick. I've often said it takes a road race 5 hours to figure out what cyclocross gets done in 1 hour. Let's start out with what is cyclocross? Well, first of all, cyclocross courses are mostly off-road, usually held in some type of park or outdoor venue or an arena even. Cross courses are going to have tons of obstacles all throughout them. Some natural, some fabricated. Those are going to force riders to be technically on point and agile. And oftentimes, riders will have to dismount their bikes and start running with them, especially if a section gets too hard or too technical, or for instance, a rider can't keep their momentum through heavy sand or mud that's out on the course. Now, cyclocross, or CX as it's called, will have multiple laps that are around 8 minutes long, and the races are typically 40 to 50 minutes long for the women's elite and around 60 minutes long for the men's elite. So what kind of bike do you use for cyclocross? Well, you'll use a cyclocross bike, which looks just like a road bike, but it'll be more similar to a gravel bike. It'll have a higher bottom bracket, it'll have increased tire clearance for bigger tires, it'll have more aggressive geometry to be able to take those sharp turns that you see out on the cyclocross course at slower speeds with ease in keeping traction. Cross bikes these days are almost always outfitted with disc brakes, gravel group sets, sometimes single chain rings and clutch rear derailleurs to keep the chain from popping off when they go over the undulating terrain that cross riders often see. They also will opt for tubular tires as it's their only form of suspension on a cyclocross bike. Now, traditionally, even though they go off-road, they don't use any suspension. And while tubeless technology is growing, you haven't seen a pro rider yet win a high-level race on them. Not yet, but that might be coming. And you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't you just use a mountain bike? Well, a cross bike is faster for the types of conditions that cyclocross races are held on. Typically for a mountain bike, you need bigger tires, more aggressive roots and rocks and things like that. Cyclocross courses are generally manicured for a 700C knobby 33C tubular, which is why it's so much fun to watch and to participate. It's almost like having the wrong but also the right bike for the job. So where is cyclocross racing popular? Well, cyclocross racing happens all over the globe. It does have a cyclocross World Cup, which goes to several countries, but is mainly in the United States, Ireland, the UK, and Europe. But hotspots include Australia, Japan, New Zealand, North America, the UK, all over Europe, but Belgium and the Netherlands are the big dogs of cyclocross for the moment. And the racing scene in these countries is massive and completely unrivaled. And speaking of rival, the rivalries between the best men and best women from the Belgium and the Netherlands, second to none. So let's talk about some of the conditions that you see on a cyclocross course. Mud is actually favored by the riders and fans, but courses can have sand and grass, pavement for the start-finish sections, and usually there's a big wide open field somewhere in a cyclocross course. Races often come down to last lap duels, with one rider capitalizing from another rider's mistakes with the crowd cheering, hanging over the tape, screaming at the top of their lungs, letting the rider that's out front know when a mistake has been made behind. Just the sound of the crowd. It is intense, and the racing often ends in a sprint finish, with second place being just a couple of seconds off of the winner, if at all. For fans of the sport, you can see the differences in technique, the style, and the panache of the riders in full view from one vantage point out on the course. The best riders in the world make it look easy, but if you've ever been to a cyclocross race, then you know it's anything but. Peanut butter mud underneath your tires, slipping and sliding, terrible, nasty off-camber sectors that push riders to their absolute limit lap after lap. Cross courses are constantly changing all throughout the race, and riders are pushed to their absolute maximum in skills, technical ability, physical agility, running, and mental fortitude. Sometimes racing cyclocross doesn't really look pretty, it's just how you get the job done. Now, unlike road racing fans, riders in cyclocross interact with their fans very closely. Cyclocross resembles more of the upper slopes of the Tour de France stage, with the fans screaming, running alongside the riders as they get to the finish line. Cyclocross is almost always held in the fall and winter in the cold months because racing cyclocross in the summertime is just not that much fun. From someone that's done it, there's just not enough airflow, it's hot, the courses are slow. It's just not exactly designed for that. It's really to be held in winter conditions with getting off and on the bike all the time. That helps keep your feet warm. The slower speeds out on the course also allow riders to stay warm. Being in the forests and the woods also cuts down on the airflow and the wind, so you stay warmer. If you think about road racing in the wintertime with the cold and rainy and sometimes even snowy weather, you can see why cyclocross makes a lot more sense in the cold and nasty stuff. Cyclocross racing can be easily compared to horse racing, as it's started by the shot of a gun or a whistle blown. And if you can imagine a big horse race where everyone is gridded on the front line, waiting there at the start to just punch out of the gate as soon as they hear the whistle or the gun go off, it is super fast. The first laps of a cyclocross race, the first 15 or 20 minutes, are absolutely electrifying and crazy, with tons of jockeying for position, with the first rider trying to get to the first turn or technical section. There's a lot that happens in that first 60 seconds, but also in those first laps. Now, it's different than road racing, as the men and the women race cyclocross on the same day, at the same course, at the same venue, one after the other. In fact, women's cyclocross races have had more spectators, TV audience, and fans than some of the men's races in the past few seasons. And that's due to such a deep talent pool, exciting battles out on the cross course that we've seen over the past few seasons. Women's cyclocross is continuing to gain popularity all over the world right now, and it's great to see. So with that kind of introduction, you're probably asking yourself, where can I watch all this great cyclocross racing? It sounds super cool. Well, first of all, cyclocross has several big series, and GCN has rights to more live on-demand racing coverage than ever. Basically, you can watch live and on-demand coverage of every women's and men's cross race from the Super Prestige, DVV Trophy, and FES Cross Series, as well as the 2020 European Championships this season. My good friend Marty McDonald and I are going to be calling the races and giving you the very best insight and analysis all season long. And all the races are ad-free. They're available globally, except in the Heartland in Belgium, through the Race Pass on the GCN app. So make sure that you download and subscribe to get the Race Pass. Of course, territory restrictions apply, so please do check to make sure that you're covered, but all of those series that I said above are covered globally, excluding Belgium. So that is what cyclocross is and why you should watch it. I hope that we see many of you over on the Race Pass and the app this fall and winter. We're huge fans of cyclocross here at GCN, so let us know down in the comments what your favorite race to watch is and what you're looking forward to this season the most. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time. I think I'm gonna open this West Mall, as a matter of fact. It's late in the day. This is a triple. Probably won't need much, but let's see what happens.